All right, all right. Welcome to system design practice. I'm gonna be practicing my system design, and uh, it's gonna be a front end system design for now. So let's dive into it. Um, Design a type ahead widget. So I haven't done widgets. I've only done systems. I haven't done components. So I'm gonna be doing components on this video. All right, so a type ahead widget is basically just like Google. This input here. If I type something like "hi," you see that things start loading, and that comes from if we do inspect in here, um, do xhr, and I do hi, you can see the search in there. Did you see that? So if I do hi, it will not do any call. This is not the call. It will not do any call because it's already cached in memory. So if I refresh and I do hi, did you see? It made two requests. Uh, Actually, it doesn't even have a debounce. And I got a request, response. Let's see the object. We got some metadata in here, probably. I don't know. And then we have, oh, so it's basically returning the HTML to render. Did you see? All right. Anyways, so we're gonna be um, doing the component design for this widget, which is really cool. It's a really useful widget that you will probably use in a lot of web apps. So we're gonna be yeah designing that. The first thing that I like to do is to plan, like to have like a list of steps um, of what the design is gonna be. So let me have a rectangle here. Right, left top. All right, so the first thing, it's gonna be functional requirements. So I'm gonna gather the functional requirements. Let me zoom in a little bit. Then non-functional requirements. Then three is gonna be the components architecture. Architecture. Then I like to go straight into data. So once we have the component architecture, just like a high level overview of the app, I'm gonna do a small design. It's not an app, but it's a widget. So usually on system design, you'll have a data part, but for this component, we don't really gonna do data. We're gonna do props and events. Then I like to do after that we can do optimizations and yeah, we can do optimizations. Maybe we can talk a little bit about um, like if we like we can talk about accessibility, and then talk about internationalization. So I'm gonna do I18N. Maybe security. Why not security? Um, I'm gonna deep dive into optimizations the most, um, and probably we can even include those things in optimizations. But I'm not going to. I'm gonna stick to my plan, just for the sake of this um, design. I'm gonna make you a little smaller. All right, so we got a plan now. Okay, so let's go with the first step. Functional requirements. All right, so the first requirement is user should be able to search by a query string, and then user should be able to see a list of items um, based on a result. Um, that's it, bro. Like that's the whole thing. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this in a container. Bind text to container. There we go. Those are our functional requirements. Now I'm gonna do non-functional. Probably here we'll do more specific requirements. So non-functional requirements. First thing is that the widget should be customizable. Um, should be yeah, the widget should be customizable. Are we going to support multiple screen sizes? Should support multiple screens. What else? What else we can do? Um, should be stateless. So a state should be done by the user. So it's imagine we can import this widget into any web app, and the state should be done by the web app, not by the component itself. The component will be just um, we should just be able to type in, and that's gonna trigger something. Um, should be should have props customizable configurations. I would say widget styles, customizable configurations, and yeah, I think we can use this. We can use this and start with this. So we have our functional requirements, which is just be able to type in and search by a string, and then see a list of items. Also, should emit events when um, to query on query, and also on item selected, and also on change. Just the usual on change, on input, on blur, you know, usual events. Um, okay, now I think we can start with that. All right, all right. So yeah, 10 minutes on the functional requirements. Right, that sounds about right. Now we're gonna do the component architecture. So I'm gonna do a small designing here, just like mock. So it should look something like this. We should have just input, and then I'm gonna draw in something real quick, just like a magnifier. All right. So we have that, and then we have our input in there, and let's call this input component, and then we're gonna see the results list. I'm gonna give this I'm gonna give the each component a different background, and this one's gonna be the result list. Gonna put that to the top, result list, and we're gonna have items in here. Gonna make you red just for the sake of it. And this one will be result item. I can have multiple here. And that's basically how it's gonna be. And this one's gonna be our main container. Actually, let me send you back. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna leave it like this. So this is our component. That's a component overview, just a high level design in there. I'm gonna go and design a like a schema of how the component architecture is gonna be looking like. So the first thing we have, it's the gonna call this type ahead. That's gonna be like the entry point of our component, our widget. Then that's gonna be the parent for the input component. I call this input, and also the results list. Result list. And then that result list will render result item. Just result item. All right, so it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Okay, and that's how it's gonna be looking. All right, let me give you some colors. You're gonna be red, you're gonna be blue, um, you're gonna be green, you're gonna be brown. And the field should be like that. And there we go. All right, looking good, looking good. Now let's jump into props and events. Um, so I'm gonna do like the prop interface and what should be able to receive. So let's go over here and I'm gonna do number 4, props and events. And that's gonna be, so I'm gonna write like an interface, the TypeScript interface. So I'm gonna say props. Yeah, so the typeahead widget will receive props, will receive the state, the items to render the the items to render, the input state, and yeah, and it will also emit events. So we're gonna pass event handlers as a prop. So I'm gonna say event handlers. Event handlers. Okay, so the first prop that I'm gonna pass is a string value. So that's gonna be just the string value that goes into the input. Then we need an onChange event. That's gonna be just your event. It's gonna look something like this. Then change event, so the user can actually take care of the input value state. On input, I can say on input change. Then the next thing is the items result items. For now, that's just gonna be an array that we're gonna be rendering here. Yeah, it's gonna be an array of type item. I'm gonna define this later. the result items, and then what else? Yeah, events. So on query, and that's gonna be a function that we can pass. So on query is gonna be, so the event handler will receive the query, and then maybe here we can make an HTTP call or something. And yeah, that's basically all the props that we need, except that I need to do the item, face item, and we have to do, that's gonna be description, it's gonna be a string, maybe an ID or a key. Yeah, key. This can be string or number, string or number. Yeah, so the key is just gonna be used to uh, most libraries. For example, React needs something that separates when we're rendering the same thing over and over. We need something that separates that from the rest. So that's gonna be the key value in here. Yeah. So for example, yeah. So that's how it's gonna be looking like. Okay. All right. So now let's see how that's gonna be flowing through the type ahead. All right. So I'm gonna do something over here, and I'm gonna do props. Okay. So the props will be passed to the, or maybe we can say web app, and we can pass props, and then the type ahead will pass the what it is, the input value. I'm gonna call this input value just for the sake of being more clear. Input value. All right, so we're gonna pass down the input value, and the on input change event handler. I'm gonna pass down that. Okay. Then for the result list, we're gonna pass the result items. Oh yeah, and also the on query. That's also gonna be passed on the input. So on input change will be rendered, will be executed every single time we type something in the input, and the on query will be called um, also when we type something, but that's gonna have a little bit of more features like debouncing, and we can actually optimize this. So the on query will be used to maybe call an endpoint or something, and the on change will be just for the sake of getting the input value. Okay. All right. Then the result list will receive the result items, which is gonna be an array of item, and then we're just gonna pass down the result item. Okay. So that's how it's gonna be looking like. We'll pass the props, which is our interface over here, and then the props will drill down to each component. And I'm gonna do something like this. No background. So we can actually separate that into two things: a web app and the type ahead. Okay, okay. So now, um, I think we're good to go. I think this is a really good way to put it. It's pretty simple. Let's just review our requirements. So user should be able to search by a query string, um, and that's actually there. User should be able to see a list of items based on the result. So yeah, we can pass the result items, and that will be rendered in there. Non-functional, widget size should be customizable, so we can pass actually the styles. So for example, I'm gonna say input styles. It's gonna be of type of CSS styles, which I think it's a type. And then the result list styles, also CSS styles, and the result item styles, same thing. Maybe also I can say container styles. All right, so we can pass CSS to customize our component. So that's done. Um, should support multiple screens. I think that's gonna be something that is already done in there. Should be stateless, so the state should be done by the user. That's good. Should have customizable configurations. That's there. Actually, no. We can also add advanced configurations like the bounce time. It's gonna be a number. So maybe we want this to be the bounced maybe after a second, after 100 milliseconds, whatever. And then minimum query length. Query length. That's also gonna be a number. So let's say we just want to call the onQuery function after we have 3 characters or more. So we're gonna give it the minimum query length. Um, yeah, more things we can add is a maximum items, max items. So maybe we just want to show 3 items max. What else we can configure in here? All right. So we're also going to pass the bounce time to the input. Bounce time, minimum query, then the max items will be passed to the result list. Max items. Uh, let's see, what else do we have? What else? What else? What else can we customize? We're already passing container styles, input styles, result item styles, result list. I think we're good. I think that's it. Okay, please leave in the comments if I'm leaving something out. Should have customizable configurations. There we go. Should emit events like on query, on item selected. Actually, yeah, that's another thing on item selected. So I'm gonna do on items, on item click. It's gonna be item, and we're gonna pass like a function. So on item click will be passed to this one, and then will be passed to the result item. All right, on item click, on change, we're already doing that. On input, on blur, yeah, we can also add those things. So on input change, on input blur, blur. Another one is focus, on input focus, focus. Yeah. All right. Input blur, input focus. I think that's it. Pass those to the input, of course. Query input blur, input focus. Okay. Looks way more customizable now. Okay, okay, looks good. And most of these props will be optional. So, well, we can handle that later. For now, everything will be optional. Should limit events. All right, I think we have our functional and non-functional requirements there. All right, so now we can talk about optimizations. Let me just uh, give a rectangle to this thing. All right, so now we can talk about optimizations. So number 5, optimizations. All right, so we can do a couple things on the optimization side. We can do network. If we load this component by using a remote URL, maybe it's not part of our um, package. So we're gonna do network. Also gonna do rendering optimizations, and then JavaScript optimizations. JS, JavaScript. Okay, let's start with the network optimizations. So the first thing is to put this on a CDN. When you put this on a CDN, on a content delivery network, that's gonna be the loading times will be way, 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 way faster. So if we put that into a CDN, depending on where we are, we're gonna get a different. We're gonna call a different server, right? We're just gonna call the closest server that we have. Also, the CDN will cache this thing, so it will probably have a cache. It will probably have a cache. Whoa, should I reduce those arrows? There we go, and this will cycle back. Okay, so we're gonna have something like that when we cache uh, our web component on a CDN, and it can be loaded uh, way faster. So we're gonna have a CDN and a cache. Another thing is compression. Compression. So we're gonna compress our request by using gzip. There's another new one that was developed by Google. I think gzip is also was also developed by Google. Not sure, but there's a new one called Broadly. So actually, let me put that over here, and let me type in compression. So by doing gzip, by using gzip, we're gonna be saving like 50% loading times because uh, it compress everything in a way smaller package. I think with Broadly we can get maybe 60, 70%, but there's trade-offs. You would think, hey, let's use Broadly, of course, but there's some trade-offs. So Broadly is not there by default. I think gzip is there by default on most servers. But with Broadly, you have to do some server manual configuration. It's not there by default. It's pretty new. It's pretty like it's being tested on some servers. So we're not gonna go with Broadly. I think we're gonna go with gzip, which is usually the convention, right? Usually everything is compressed by gzip. And I just wanted to mention Broadly because it's an option, but I think the trade-off is not really like the benefit is not that great compared to the configuration that we have to do over in the server. Make this blue. Compression. I think that's it over our network optimization. We can also do HTTP multiplexing, HTTP2 multiplexing. But I think this is already done by the browser. But I just want to mention this because HTTP version 2 allows you to make multiple calls in parallel. So I think that's gonna be mostly done by the web app itself, not really by our widget. All right, so I think by just the network optimization is there. I'm gonna talk about the rendering optimizations. Um, so the first thing is debouncing, and you could say that debouncing, it's also a network optimization. Debounce, debouncing. Yeah, you could say it's also network optimization because we're not gonna make too many calls. We're not gonna make too many calls just by debouncing. And also we can cache our results. So I'm gonna put that in cache results. And there's multiple ways of doing this. Also by there's multiple way of doing this. So when I say caching results, it's like maybe we already typed in something, just like we saw in Google. When I type in hi and then I type in hi again, it's already cached in the browser state, in the memory state. So we're gonna cache the results, and there's multiple ways of doing this. The way I like to go into caching results is using a map. So for example, I'm not gonna get too deep into it, but for example, this is a map, and then we're gonna have the query that we used, like maybe hi, and then the results will be here results. So when we start typing something, we'll first look into the cache, and then if it's not cached, then we'll have to debounce the HTTP call and call it. It's if it's already in the cache, um, just return those results. So we'll have something like this, or maybe something like something else, else, and also results. So the cache will look into our map, in memory app map. So I'm gonna do in memory app, memory map. Sorry. I'm gonna move you to the top, memory map. I'm gonna have something like this. The cache will look into it. If it's there, just return it. If not, then actually make the call and store it into our cache. Wow. Um. Wow. Just wanna bind it, bro. Group selection. There we go. So yeah, debouncing and cache results will give us a way better um, optimization and UI UX, and also better UX because the results are already in memory. Yeah, we can cache that also mm, by rendering. We're not rendering images, so I'm not gonna go into image optimization. I'm gonna go into CSS optimization though. I can remove the optimization word. The first thing, and it's always really obvious. I'm gonna say remove unused CSS or styles. It's pretty obvious, but a lot of the times people forget about it. People forget to remove that. Uh, and that's gonna give you a really good boost. We can also use a smaller um, selectors. So by using smaller selectors, we are saving a lot of time to the interpreter, because if we have like a huge selector for every single style, the interpreter will take more time to actually understand our code. So it's just a small boost of time optimization. And then another one is inline critical styles. So most of the time we have an HTML file, and that HTML file will have will load more files. So the HTML file will load more CSS files, more JavaScript files. So by inlining the critical ones, we can show something quicker. So I'm gonna leave that into the CSS. What else can we do here? I think that's it. Let's go with the JavaScript optimizations. The usual one: write less JavaScript. Um, it's funny how we love JavaScript and everything, but we need to write less JavaScript to make our JavaScript apps better. It's funny. Write less JS, or can I say less blocking? Yeah, less blocking code. Because JavaScript is single threaded. If you write a lot of intensive operations in JavaScript, that's gonna be that's gonna block your app usage. So yeah, write less blocking code and write more asynchronous code. Asynchronous code. So yeah, just writing asynchronous code, we can send that to the callback queue, and it'll be executed outside of our main callback, our main call stack, and it's gonna be non-blocking. And maybe we can use service workers to cache. Okay. Um, Service workers to cache heavy, heavy work, heavy assets. Okay, we can use that. So we don't have to reload our assets and everything. Uh, okay, I think that's it. So we got our optimizations, and I think that's a good talk about optimizations. Now we can talk about accessibility, internationalization, and security. I'm not gonna drill down into those that much, but it's always really important to have them in mind. So, for example, it says this number six, yeah, number six. I'm gonna say accessibility, accessibility, and the first thing, especially on this widget, we want to have keyboard shortcuts or hotkeys. So we want move with arrows, move with arrows, select item with enter. Maybe we want the search by hitting enter. Maybe delete current query, like maybe reset query value. Uh, and yeah, there's probably more keyboard shortcuts that we want, but I think these ones are pretty good to go. We're pretty good to go with these ones. Um, another thing, another thing we can add in here is theming. Theming. So we can have a colorblind theme. Crucial. A lot of people are colorblind. You will be amazed. Um, dark mode, also crucial. As you can see, I'm using dark mode right now. I cannot use something that is not that doesn't have a dark mode. Um, Theming, then also ARIA inputs. So we can use ARIA live for our input. Well, for our input. This is for screen readers. So I'm gonna say screen readers. ARIA inputs. ARIA labeled labeled by. ARIA described by, and there's a ton more. But I think these ones are the most used ones by screen readers. Um, what else? Yeah, use RAM. instead of pixels. Just to make it like some people have really huge text sizes in their screens. Um, Maybe old people like to use that kind of text. But yeah, there we go. Um, and then we got internationalization. That's pretty straightforward. Internationalization. So for this one, it's just every string has to be hard coded into a variable, and the variable will change depending on the config. And we can actually pass that configuration in the props, so we can have local, local, and it's gonna be something like s and n, maybe s for Spanish, and so on and so forth. So yeah, we can pass that into the configuration, and that's gonna be for internationalization. Also, um, these variables can come from a backend, but it's not really a good idea. Um, Not for this widget. Maybe if you have a system that's gonna change the strings in there, the whatever you show in the screen that's gonna be changing constantly, then yes, it's better to have that in a database and just change updates, just update those values from the DB instead of doing redeploying your whole UI. And lastly, I'm gonna say security. Whoa, security. Um, I'm not talking about like SQL injections and all that. That has to be done on the backend. I'm talking most about the component itself has to be encapsulated. So maybe use a shadow DOM. Shadow DOM. Actually, I'm gonna say encapsulate styles. So maybe use a shadow DOM. That's usually how web components work. So they have their own DOM inside your DOM. So it's not as easy to. So maybe you have a class on your DOM, and then your component have the same class, but because it's inside a shadow DOM, they will not share the value. Encapsulate styles. Mm, 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 mm. I actually don't know what else. Maybe that's the only thing that we need. Uh, Make it stateless. So yeah, your widget should be stateless and should be managed by the client that it's using it. And okay, I think that's it for now. Um, yeah, I think we have a really good understanding on the optimization, the data flow, the props that we'll receive, and where are they going. I'm just gonna put everything in there like that. And I think we're done. That's a really good design for a Typeahead widget. Um, if you guys think I missed anything, if you maybe have a different opinion on the optimizations, on how I did it, just leave a comment below. And yeah, I think we're done. Thanks for watching and see ya.